Okay, guys. So we have started the recording and good evening again, everybody. And thank you so much for your time, first of all, for joining the workshop. So as you know, this is going to be a AWS Red Teaming workshop. And as I have seen that there are so many new candidate or new people has joined, specifically those are new to the cloud or Red Teaming. So I will try to make it as simple as possible. So you guys can interrupt me if you have any doubt or raise your hand in a team meeting so that I can answer your query. So now let's jump into the AWS Red Teaming. First of all, let's go through the agenda. So today's agenda is I am going to demonstrate you how to compromise a key, specifically AWS key, and then we are going to do the lateral movement in VPC and then find the secret. Okay, so these are the three major topic for today's agenda. Now let's start with the first of all AWS. I want to actually also go back a little bit and also show you what is AWS console looks like, how are you going to access it, and what kind of access we will be using for our workshop purpose. Okay. So let me jump to the AWS console. This is the AWS console. Just some side note, guys. If you want to practice this red teaming training, and if you are not if you are new to AWS, I would request you to uh, have a free AWS tier account, and then you can practice on that account. Of course, two things you are gonna need is AWS account and the Kali Linux operating system. It's not necessary to do it on a Kali Linux operating system. You can also do it on a Mac OS, or if you have the Windows operating system, not a problem. So, but we are going to do the practical on the Kali Linux for this workshop. So first of all, let's understand what is red teaming. Red teaming is basically majorly if we have to compare between penetration testing and red teaming, the major difference is during the penetration testing, there is a specific scope that we have and we have to work on that scope. And during the red teaming, the scope is wide actually, and you can do lots of various other activities which may not fall into pen testing. So basically, you can do the lateral movement, you can do the data exfiltration. I mean, if the customer is allowing, you can run the phishing exercise. So there are a lot of things which may actually extend the scope of traditional penetration testing. And one more thing is specifically for red teaming is when we are doing red teaming, generally we do red teaming considering that there should not be any security alert in admin's dashboard. I mean, you should not get caught. That could be one of the agenda. So you have to be stealthy, you have to be kind of slow, or plan your journey in a proper way so that your red teaming exercise gets successfully and there are no event or there are no ticket raised during the red teaming activity. Versus in a pen testing, what happens is there is already specific window that is defined for pen testing, and during that window you do the pen testing, you run, let's say, credential scan, brute force attack, whatever the attacks that you have to run, and then there would be alerts, right? So that is the major difference between pen testing and red teaming. So again, coming back to AWS environment, now before we jump into the topic that we are going to discuss, I also want to show you that how the AWS console looks like. Once you have created the free account, okay, you will get the console access like this. So the first account that you log in with your free tier, that will be your root account. And for this demonstration purpose, I am going to use my root account. But in ideal scenario, it is not advisable or it is not recommended to use the root account for operational task or day-to-day purpose. Okay, so this is how the console looks once you log into the first time. And there are a couple of things, guys, you need to make sure, you need to understand that when you are into AWS console, there are lots of services that you can navigate from here. But today specifically, we are going to focus on EC2 instance and VPC. And then tomorrow we will be also focusing on S3 service. Okay, so you can navigate from here for the specific service, or you can also type here, like for example, VPC service, and you can also open this in a new tab, and then you can see the VPC service. You can do the all sort of configuration that is required. So that is one thing. Another thing that I want to show you is when you are doing practice or when you are doing red teaming activity, you need to make sure that these are the regions, and you need to select the appropriate region for your testing purpose. Okay, so we are going to do the testing in US East 1 region. Why I am highlighting this? Because it has to do with the cost. So for a specific region, there is a little bit higher cost for the resources. And these are the top 4 region where it will be minimal cost. But for this, our exercise, there won't be any cost because we will be falling under free tier so that we can do the practice without, keeping the cost in mind. But again, try to follow this specific thing. We are going to do the practice in US East 1, and then this is our dashboard. So now, coming back to dashboard again, how are we going to access AWS services? So there will be 2 to 3 options. We can access the AWS services through this central dashboard, which is GUI. We can also access the AWS services through the there is something called Cloud Shell in GUI itself. So if you click on a Cloud Shell, you will get the CLI access. And from here, you will be able to access a lot of AWS services. And from here, you will be also able to do certain things, which is ideally or generally not possible from the console. So mostly for this exercise, we are going to do things from the CLI. Okay. So there is one more way. We don't have to always log into this account. What we can do, there is a AWS CLI option available. So that AWS CLI actually you can install on your Kali Linux, Mac operating system, or Windows operating system. And then you can import the keys into your AWS CLI installed operating system. And then from there you can access the AWS console and you can do all sort of work from the CLI itself. Okay, so majority of work we are going to, I'm going to demonstrate you few things from the console as well, but majority of things we will be going to Kali Linux. This is the Kali Linux that we will be using. And from the CLI, we will be doing the practical. Okay, so of course, I'm going to show you how to install this AWS CLI, how to get the credential into Kali Linux so that you can start accessing your console from the AWS CLI itself. Okay, so okay guys, as we are proceeding, if you have any doubt, please interrupt me or raise your hand in a Teams, okay, so that I can answer your question. So the next thing now that we are going to do, let's jump to our PPT. So this is going to be our agenda. First thing that we have to do is compromise the keys. So we can compromise a key, AWS key from the various method. Okay. Today we will be going to discuss one method which is GitHub dorking or Google dorking. Okay. And there are a lot of assumptions that we are going to make for this specific lab so that it will be successful for us. Okay. And we are not going to attack any outside customer or the specifically workload which is not in our scope or we do not have permission to. Everything that we are going to do is basically on our own AWS account where we have the permission. Okay. But I'm going to show you how we can, basically compromise or get the keys from outside world. So basically, you can get the AWS keys from various platforms. Like you can do the Google dorking, GitHub dorking, find the keys on GitHub, and then just, load the keys into your AWS profile. AWS CLI, and see what kind of things you can do there. Okay. Secondly, maybe you can have the AWS keys access from the RCE, which is publicly facing EC2 instance, or via SSRF attack, or maybe customer has already provided you with the AWS key for this engagement purpose. Also, you might have these keys from the previous your pen testing engagement. And at the same time, you can also have this key from your, maybe you can find it from some outside leaks. Okay. So now the first task that we have to do in order to start our red teaming activity is to get the AWS access key and then load those access key into our AWS CLI. Okay. And from this is where we are going to do the VPC lateral movement. Don't worry, I am going to also explain what is VPC. I am going to give you some brief what VPC exactly is, how to, what kind of feature does it has, what kind of characteristics it has, so that you will have some idea. Okay. And we will follow the step-by-step approach to get to the lateral movement. And our final target for the today will be to to find the secret. Ideally, we are going to do the lateral movement in this VPC environment. So this is the drawing that we will be using. And of course, I'm going to explain you about this drawing more. But now let's jump to our first objective, which is to get the AWS keys. So now let me open a Google and I will show you how we can do the Google dorking to get the AWS access key. So if you type in a Google hacking database, you can go to GHDB here and simply you can type here AWS keys or AWS key. Sorry, AWS key. AWS. Okay, there is autocorrect. So if you type here, you will get the dorks actually. So what does this dork means? Basically, if you click on this link, you will see that this is just some Google query. Okay, if you again open this query in detail, of course, it is showing you some description, what it is about, and it is giving you some information here as well. But as we have opened this query in a new tab, you can see it is simply doing the Google search in URL GitHub AWS secret key. Okay, so you can also change this filter according to the specific thing that you are looking for, right? So maybe you can just scroll here and try to open the link one by one like this and see if you are able to find the key. Okay, so maybe here you will find something like, okay, WS key. So basically this is enumeration part. Okay, in terms of enumeration, you have to do a lot of enumeration, or you may also set up some automation tool that can help you to enumerate the keys. So basically you have to click on link one by one and see if you are able to find some key which is publicly available. Maybe somebody has by mistaken, posted their keys somewhere. So you have to scroll like this, and currently I am not able to find any keys. Maybe I will try the next GitHub dork, sorry, this Google dork, to see if there is any AWS keys. We will also explore the GitHub. Okay. And then we will load, once we find the keys, we will load it into AWS CLI. So the next dork is actually taking the data from paste bin, and if there is something on paste bin, which says AWS access key, we will see it here. Okay, it will show us here. Instead of access key, you can also type secret keys. So these are the two keys which we will actually require to get the access to AWS environment. Okay, so maybe I can just click one by one URL and try to see if I am okay. See here, as you can see, there are some keys I can see in a from the outside itself. So let me open this URL. This is the URL, and maybe here we will find some keys. So better is, let me do Control F, security. Let me type access key. and find next if I'm able to. Okay, fine. So as I can see some access key here, right? And then the secret key here. So basically, we can use this information now to load this credential into our account and see what kind of access we have. So this is how generally we will do the enumeration. This is just one of the method from various method. There are so many methods you can use. Okay, but this is just to, and by the way, let me tell you one more thing. We will be doing a lot of manual stuff in this specific exercise because I want you guys to know very basic fundamental so that once you know the basic manual things, you can do the automation with the help of Google or Chat GPT or whatever things you like. So basically, when we find some sensitive information like this, what we do is generally we copy this information. Okay, let me go to our Kali box, paste it here. No. So this is some keys that we have found. Okay, this is something for bucket. Okay, let me now try GitHub dorking as well. We tried Google dorking. Now let me show you another method, how to compromise key. But again, let me take you back to this our presentation slide. There are various methods. These are also some of the method. Okay, there could be many methods to compromise the AWS key. Again, reconnaissance can have many phases. Okay, sorry, many methods also that you can go through. So let's jump back now to GitHub dorking. So when you logged into your GitHub account, okay, so there are a couple of things you can do. By the way, right? I mean, people basically post their code on GitHub as an open source, and sometimes they by mistakenly add their secret keys or their username password into their code, and they forget to remove it, and then they post it online on a GitHub or any other online platform. So GitHub is also one of the platform where lot of the information can be found. Specifically, you can talk about the passwords or security keys or credentials. So in order to get the credential from GitHub, simply you can type here also AWS. This is search bar. Okay, AWS access key, and then just search and see what is coming up, right? You can see a lot of information here. Again, same what we did with Google dorking, we can do the same here. Just basically open one by one link. If you think that there are some keys, you just have to navigate like this, open the link one by one and see if you are able to find some keys here. Because maybe the chances are you will not find because what they have shown is only these keywords which we were looking for, but there is no key. Okay. So, okay, as you can see that there is an access key, but the secret is hidden. So it will not be useful because what we need is we need the combination of access key and the secret key. Okay. So this is not useful for us. Maybe we can check another link. So like that we can scroll. Or another thing is if we know that there is some organization or some owner which is basically we need to target, we can type that organization or owner name specifically. We can type like org and then for example sao b. So this is one of the account where we might find the keys. So this is something AWS cloud stuff repository. We can click on this repository. And then we can see that there are credentials. So this is something we can see that this is by mistakenly done from this person. Okay. Maybe click on this link and see what is there in credential. See something like this you will find. Maybe see these are the valid credential for AWS access key. So maybe we can just copy this credential or just copy this, go to our Kali Linux and then paste it here. It's not copied. So something went wrong. Let me select all, copy and paste. Okay, these are the credentials, guys. So this is how basically you are going to compromise the credential. Okay. Now let's jump to the next option, which is now we are not going to use this credential now. What are we going to do is we are going to use our own credential. So this was just one part that I wanted to show how you can possibly compromise the credential from online available options. Okay. Or from the reconnaissance, initial reconnaissance. So the next thing that I want to show is how to create our own AWS key from our dashboard and use it into the account. So of course, we are going to assume that we have the AWS key uh, and then we are going to use those key for this compromise. So first thing, to create a key, we will go to identity and access management. We are going to create a new user. Okay, create a user. And I'm going to give this user as a red teaming name. I'm just going to do this quickly so that you will just know about it. Okay, and I'm going to give this user a full access. So this is basically a user creation in AWS console. But now once I have created this red teaming user, in order to get the access via CLI, we need to have the programmatic access. Okay, how we will get this programmatic access is via security credential. So the security credential, we are going to create our own access key. So let me create a key. I will say that I need the key for CLI. And then next, I'm going to click I understand, next, and then create an access key. So this is the access key. Ideally, we were looking for our we were looking online, okay, from the reconnaissance perspective, initial reconnaissance perspective. So let me copy these keys, and now I'm going to save this key, which I will be able to use it later when I install the AWS CLI. Okay, so now we have got the keys. Okay, now next thing, in order to get this account access to our CLI of Kali Linux, we need to install the AWS CLI tool. So let me type AWS CLI. It's a very simple tool to install, just a few commands. So go to Google, install AWS CLI. You will find this article. We are going to install this tool in Linux. It's very simple. Just scroll here. This is the steps. You can copy all the steps. Go to your Kali operating system. Let me just go to sudo, type the password. So now I am privileged user and I'm going to paste this simply, okay, and press enter. That's it. This is how simple it is to install AWS CLI on a Kali Linux. Okay, so that's it. We have installed this. It says found existing AWS CLI installation. Please rerun install script with update. Okay, so we have it already, so we don't have to install, but I just wanted to demonstrate you how to install the tool. So this is the basic command that you can utilize to install the tool. Next, when we have the tool installed, this AWS CLI, what we have to do is we have to load this credential into our CLI so that we can access that AWS account from our CLI. The command is AWS configure is the command to load the credential or configure the profile. So if we look at the current profile, by the way, when we load any credential or when we configure any credential, all the credential will be stored in user's home directory in a hidden folder called .aws, and then there will be a credentials file. If you look at this file, see, there is no credentials are stored right now. So let's store our credential or let's configure our initial default profile. So the command is AWS configure and then press enter. So when we run this command, it is asking us the AWS access key. This is the access key that we are going to use. Paste. And this is the secret key. secret access key that we are going to pay. Okay, paste. Let me check if it is correct. Okay, correct. And press enter. So we need to select the default region. So as I explained you that we are working into US East 1 region. So this will be our default region. Okay. US East 1. And then default output format none. So this is how we configure the credential in AWS CLI. We don't need to assign any username, password, or any public IP address, but it is as simple as that. We need the combination of these two keys. Okay. So this is how now this AWS CLI will understand that we are trying to access this specific account. Okay. So this is how we have done the configuration of our. So just to, I will show you one command. If we have to check the available instance that we have into this account, we can run AWS EC2 describe instance command. Okay. This is the command, and it will show us all the instances that this account has EC2 instance, or we can also run AWS S3 LS to check the S3 buckets, available S3 bucket into this account. Okay. So this is just commands that once we have loaded the credential, we will be able to run the command against our AWS environment. And now if we have to look at the credential that we have loaded, this is the file path and then press enter. So this is the credential that we have loaded and it's a default profile. Okay. We can load multiple credential and give the profile name. Now, since we have got this credential access, let's come back to our scenario. Okay. Now what we have to do is we have to do the lateral movement into VPC. So why are we going to do this lateral movement is because our purpose is that let's assume that we have compromised this public facing host to the internet. Okay. And we need to reach to internal private computer or EC2 instance and get the secret from there. Okay. So this is our objective. Now let me explain you what is this all setup is all about. What is VPC? What kind of things are there? What is public, private, subnet? So that you will understand, and then we will be able to jump into the CLI console. So first of all, VPC is virtual private cloud. Okay. So in a traditional world, when we have the networking in our, let's say, company, or when we have the data center. So from the networking perspective, what we have in our environment is routers, switches, IP addresses, NAT gateway, internet, right? Internet connectivity, VPN connectivity, those kind of things from the networking perspective we have in our network environment. So same concept applies here into the VPC. Okay. So VPC is nothing but your, you can say, private data center. Okay. It's like a private data center where you have all the networking features enabled. Okay. Such as routing, internet access, VPN access, security features. Okay. So let's talk about the internet gateway. Internet gateway is something basically is provide you the internet from outside world. Okay. So what does that mean? You have the public IP on this internet gateway, and then this internet gateway will be assigned to your EC2 instance, so that this EC2 instance can have the access to internet. So next thing which will be part of VPC is your subnets. So you can have the private and public subnet in a VPC. So what does that mean? Public subnet means basically where you have the internet gateway assigned. That means where you have the internet connectivity with the public IP address. And of course, that instance will have the private IP address also. And the private subnet means it has a private IP address only. So VPC is basically in a one VPC. If you have the multiple subnet, these all different subnet can talk to each other in a single VPC. Okay. And versus if you have the two different VPC, if there is one subnet in VPC2 and then there is one private subnet in VPC1, they will not be able to talk to each other by default. Okay. So in order to talk to cross VPC communication or have the network communication between two different VPC, you need the peering connection or there is something called transit gateway. So there are multiple options, but we will focus on peering connection, VPC peering at this point of time. So what does this VPC peering connection do is basically it facilitates one VPC to communicate to the another VPC subnets. Okay, so this is the basic thing that we need to understand. Again, let me now take you to the our console and show you the configuration that we have done from this exercise perspective. So we have these two VPC configured, VPC 1 and VPC 2. We have three EC2 instance. EC2 instance is nothing but virtual machine. Okay, we have three EC2 instance. Two EC2 instance are in VPC 1 and two VPC, one EC2 instance is in VPC 2. So VPC 1 has this broader subnet, as you can see here, 172.168.0.0/16. And then any subnet that you configured under this VPC has to start with 172.31 because this is the mandatory subnet as per the slash notation, CIDR notation. And in VPC2, any subnet that you configure has to start with 10.20 because this complete subnet is part of 10.20.0.0/16. So as you can see that there are various subnets. These two subnet as part of as part of single VPC, those will be able to talk to each other. That means 172.31.29.4 EC2 instance will be able to talk to 172.31.69.168 by default without any specific routing configuration. But this instance, this private subnet instance will not be able to talk to 10.20.1.129. Okay, because this is in different VPC. So this is what basically we have already configured the peering connection. Okay, which I will show you this whole scenario from the console, and then the major portion of our today's exercise will be from the CLI. Okay, the reason only I'm showing it from console because I want you to get the understanding of console, how things also look from the console perspective. And from the CLI perspective, we will be exploring VPC, subnet, EC2 instance, and all sort of details. Okay. Now, there is one more thing that you need to understand. In order to make a successful connection, okay, between your, let's say, outside world to any specific EC2 instance or any specific virtual machine, there are multiple things that we need to think of. Okay, see why we are understanding this, because guys, when we have to do lateral movement or when we have to do compromise of any EC2 instance, we need to also understand how this network infrastructure inside VPC works. Okay, what kind of things are mandatory to understand and what kind of things are mandatory in order to get the access. We should be aware of that so that we will be able to successfully penetrate into the network. Okay, so let me explain you this diagram. This is the same diagram, but from this diagram, but it has little bit more detail. It has a traffic path basically, or each specific component that will be fall into place when traffic travel from the internet to specific instance. Okay, so what happens is when traffic travel from internet gateway to any specific instance, there will be a router attached to one VPC. Okay, that router will have the routing table. Okay, and then that routing table will basically say that if wherever you have to go, routing has to be there. Okay, otherwise your traffic will not be routed. Once the routing traffic is available there, the next filter will be network access control list. If the routing is allowed, let's say you are coming from outside world from 1.1.1.1 IP and you want to access this specific instance, maybe let's say this is a public instance. So this is the first routing table. When there is a route for this specific instance or specific IP address, your traffic will go to the network ACL. So the next filter, network ACL will check whether the traffic is allowed or it's not allowed. Okay, if the traffic is allowed in network ACL, then it will be passed on to the security group. The security group will also check whether the traffic is allowed from specific source to destination on specific destination port, which is traveling to this EC2 instance. If the traffic is allowed, then this security group will forward the packet here. Okay, so this is how the general flow workflow will traffic flow will be here. So why there are two controls here? So let me explain you that these two control are little bit different. So the network ACL and security group does almost similar role of filtering traffic up to L4. Okay, so in network ACL, basically this is a stateless inspection. Okay, that means what does that mean? Stateless means if there is one-way traffic allowed, you have to also allow the reverse way traffic. We are definitely going to see this in a console when we open the console access. And the security group is basically when there is a traffic comes, it is a stateful inspection. That means if you have allowed specific traffic, let's say SSH port for all the IP to this instance, if inbound traffic is allowed, outbound traffic doesn't has to be defined in security group because it is a stateful filtering. It will check that there is a session and then it will allow the return traffic by default. Okay. So this is about network ACL and security group. So let me recap quickly before we jump to the console access. So in order to come to this particular instance, we need to know that whether the routing is allowed or no, whether the network ACL is allowed or no, whether the security group is allowing our traffic or no. And basically, in such kind of environment where as per our testing environment, if we have different VPC, we need to explore manually all the subnet, how the connectivity is there, how the peering connection is there. Lot of things we need to enumerate. Okay. And this is what we are going to do it from the CLI. And coming back to the console. 1 minute. Okay. This is where we can see all of our work actually. These are our VPCs, two VPCs as per our drawing. These are the subnets that we have. Okay. So let me explain you these things. This is the routing table that we have. I will also explain you how does the routing looks. And we are also going to run the command in CLI. And then rest of the exercise we will be following up from the CLI. And okay, this is the routing table. And if you go to the security group, 1 minute. So it's an EC2 instance. Okay, this is the security group. We can see here. And these are the security group. So there are some default security groups. There are certain security group which are assigned to our VM. Okay, that I am going to explain. So currently, just keep in mind that you can assign, one security group to multiple instances, or you can assign the network ACL, multiple network ACL to multiple instances. So this is just basically additional security control. Okay, so this is how it looks from the console access. So if even if you select one security group, you can see the rules configured here. Okay, so this enumeration we are going to do it first from the console because I want to explain you things from the console, and then we will be also going to see everything from the CLI. So as per our drawing, these are our security groups. These are our 3 EC2 instance. Okay, and this is our VPC, including, sorry, this is our VPCs. These are our subnets, and these are our routing tables. So let's start from the VPC perspective. So as you can see in the drawing here, I think let me just try to minimize this little bit. We have two VPC, VPC1 and VPC2, and then there are, see, this is the information that I am explaining you, but consider as an attacker, you will not know this because when you have compromised certain access key or security key, you will not know about this information. Okay, so once you get the key, this is what we are going to do it from CLI. But in advance, I'm just going to show you this so that it will be clear in your mind that what kind of environment that we are working into and what kind of steps that you have to take when you are into completely unknown environment where you don't have any visibility apart from the access key or any security credential, that you have compromised or the customer has given to you. Okay, so these are our two VPC. As you can see, this is 172.31.0.0 subnet. Here, 172.31.0.0 for VPC1. For VPC2, we have 10.20.0.0 subnet /16. And then EC2 instances also, we will look at them. So basically, if we look at these EC2 instances, these are 3 EC2 instances. Okay, let me click on this public facing EC2 instance. You can see that this is our public IP address. So maybe we have got this key from this public instance. Maybe there is, a web server running and it's not configured properly, and we have exploited that and got the keys. So this is how you may go get your initial access. Okay, so this is the public IP address and this is the private IP address of this instance. Next, you can see this instance belongs to this VPC ID and the VPC is 01. And next thing, you can check the private instance. Again, there is one more private instance, which is basically doesn't have any public IP. So maybe we are only able to compromise this instance from outside, but remaining two instance, once we get into the network, then we will come to know that, okay, there are some more computers that we need to compromise via maybe lateral movement or, some other technique. But of course, we are going to do the lateral movement in this exercise. So these are the two instances which doesn't have any public access or those are not accessible from the public. So our task will be to first get into this instance, then jump from this instance to this, because uh, these two instances, okay, as per the drawing, these are in same VPC. So there is no need to have any access list or, specific policies, because in the same VPC, as we know, traffic can pass. But in a different VPC, we need to check whether there is VPC peering or transit gateway configured or not, those kind of things. So this is the private instance 1 and this is the private instance 2 in a VPC2, which is standalone, which doesn't has any public IP, which has only private IP address here. Okay, so this is about the EC2 instance. Now we know that these are two VPCs that we have. Next, we know that these are the subnets that we will be focusing on. Let me again open the diagram. These are the 3 subnet, public subnet, then there is one private subnet in VPC1, and then there is one more subnet which is part of VPC2. So if we let me just take it like this. Okay, I think now you can see it properly. This is public subnet which is part of VPC1. This is one more subnet which is part of this VPC1. And if we scroll a little bit more here, we will see additional information that which route table this subnet is associated with. So again, going back to this drawing, when we see that there are certain subnet, okay, there will be a route table associated with the subnet. So this is one subnet here, as you can see. And then this subnet has this network ACL and route table and security group attached. And then there is one more subnet where there is a different route table, this different network ACL, different security groups are attached. Okay, so these are our subnets. These are 3 subnets as per the drawing. These are the subnet that we will be working with. So next, when we now know the subnet, we also need to check the route, whether the routes are there or no. If you click on any specific subnet, let's click on our first subnet, which is this subnet, okay, as part of our drawing. And let's look at the routing table of this subnet. Okay, you can click on here, routing table. Okay, again, this routing table is associated with VPC1, as you can see here. And then for more detail, instead of clicking here, we can also check the route table here. So as you can see, guys, the route table is basically has certain routing information. So basically what it says is to reach to this destination 172.31.0.0 route is locally available. I mean, this subnet is locally available. You don't need to go anywhere. This is one route. Next, it is saying to reach to any IP address on internet, you need to go to internet gateway, which is our this gateway, which will take us to the internet to reach to any IP address. Next is this subnet to reach to 10.20.1.0 subnet. It says you need to go to this peering. Basically, this means VPC peering. PCX is nothing but the VPC peering. Okay. As per our drawing, this is the VPC peering that we need to actually look at it. Okay. So basically, as we can see from the console access that we have the route available from here to here. And next thing, we can also check the routing table of second subnet. So for this subnet, the routing table looks almost same. And now if you click on the third subnet, the routing table is little bit different. So for that, this subnet, okay, VPC2 private subnet, if you look at here, it says to reach to 172.31.64.0 network, you need to go to VPC peering connection. So now we are talking about this VPC, okay, routing table in this VPC. So from here, if we have to reach to 172.31.16.0 network, we need to go through VPC peering. This is what this routing table is saying. Next, it is saying if you need to reach 10.20.0.0 subnet, the subnet is locally present. So we don't need to go anywhere. So this is about the routing. Okay, so what we have seen so far is VPC, subnet, and route table. We can also take a look at network ACL. Okay, network ACL will show us whether the traffic is allowed or it's not allowed. Let me scroll to the security and network ACL. So if you go to the network ACL, you can see that there are total 2 network ACL only in our scenario. So there is one network ACL which is assigned to 2 different subnet, which we saw previously, which are both part of VPC 1. So again, coming back to drawing, if we look at this VPC 1, there is one network subnet, one network ACL, which is connected to these 2 subnet. There is second network ACL, which is connected to private subnet of VPC2. Again, coming back to drawing, this is the VPC. And that second network ACL is connected to this subnet. So next is what we are going to do, check the allowed rule into the network ACL. So let's click on any one of the network ACL and then click on the inbound rules and outbound rules. As I explained, guys, there is inbound and outbound both rules are required from the network ACL perspective because this is stateless. Okay, in stateful scenario, we do not need that. So here there is a rule which is rule number 100. It says all protocol, all traffic for all range and from all source should be allowed. So when traffic hit to this ACL, basically it checks the rule from top to bottom. So if this rule has been hit, the traffic will not process to the second rule, okay, which is deny anyway. Okay, so but anyway, since the first rule itself says allow, the traffic will not hit here. And now, since the all traffic is allowed inbound, outbound traffic also should be allowed. Click here and see if the outbound traffic is allowed. Yes, it is allowed. That means we are clear from this perspective. Okay, so when we are doing lateral movement, routing is available. Okay, so we don't face any problem in routing. Network ACL is clear. Now the next thing that we need to look at it as per our drawing is security group. So we check the routing table, there is route available. We check the network ACL. Network ACL is all good. And then there is a security group, which is also all good. Sorry, security group we need to check now. So let me go to our EC2 instance. Okay. And then from the instance, you can go to security group, or basically you can click on one by one instance, click on security and check what kind of rules are allowed there. Okay, so in a security, there is this security group. If we click here, it will take us to the security group configuration. Next, the inbound rule that we have as part of this security group is it is allowing basically SSH, okay, port 22 for all the IP addresses and HTTPS for all the public IP addresses and private IP addresses. So as we can see that there is rule available, that means we will also not face issue in lateral movement from the security group perspective. Let's look at the outbound rules. There is only one rule, okay, which is also actually not required specifically when traffic coming from in to from out to in. But this rule will be applicable if traffic is initiated by EC2 instance itself and going to the internet or outside world or any private other subnet. Okay, so for this specific rule, there is no reverse traffic required, because as we know that security group is stateless, stateful. Okay, so last thing that we need to check now, our VPC peering connection, what kind of policies, what kind of routing is there? Because it is necessary, it is actually, you can say very important to have the routing between two VPC, but at the same time, this routing also has to configure inside the VPC peering. Okay, if the routing is not configured here properly, we will not be able to reach from here to here or here to here. Okay, so now let's jump to our VPC console. Go to VPC peering. Okay, this is the peering connection, which is under VPC directly. Click on the peering connection, and as per our drawing, you can see that there is one peering connection. So this peering connection is basically named as 1 to 2. This is the peering connection name. If you remember, when we were checking the routing inside VPC, some of the route were pointing towards this connection. That means this traffic will flow from this VPC peering connection. And then when we look at this connection, you can see that this is connection from VPC 1 to VPC 2. Okay, and these are the requester CIDR. This is the acceptor CIDR. Next, what we need to check here is the routing table. So click on the route table. As we can see that again, there are two different route table IDs. You can click on any route table ID. Let's say, okay, wait, let's click on this peering connection first. And inside the peering connection, there is a route table. Okay, this is also one of the way. Let me go to peering connection again. Okay. So this is just a remaining other setting. Let's focus on routing table. This is the route table. Click on this. Again, it will take you to the this VPC1 route table, which we have already explored. So as we know that there is a route, okay, and the peering connection was also successfully established. Okay, so this is how basically we are going to look for the information in order to travel into the specific network. See, okay, let me tell you one thing, guys. Now we have seen this from the GUI perspective, but as an attacker, you will not have the GUI always access. So what are you going to have is the CLI access. So now the same information we are going to see from the CLI perspective. So this is where our actual red teaming activity begins. So once we identify all the detail, what we need to do is basically from the CLI, identify the IP addresses of instance, how the connection is working, which we know already from the console, but we are still going to check it from CLI. And then from one by one, hop by hop, we will jump to this last EC2 instance as part of our lateral movement. Okay, so couple of things. We have already set up our AWS CLI, and we have also set up our credential into AWS CLI. So first thing that we are going to do from the console perspective is we are going to describe the VPC instances. Okay. By the way, I have already list of commands that I will be doing copy paste because we do not have to take more time and also don't have to engage into troubleshooting. So for the sake of simplicity, I will be copy pasting command and I will be explaining command what those commands are doing. It is doing the same job which we have seen from console, but now let's look at from the CLI perspective. So once we have AWS CLI setup, this is again, you can do it from Windows, Mac OS, Linux, any of the operating system. So first thing that we are going to run is AWS. If it is EC2 service that we are going to describe, we need to just type EC2. We can type the tab and get the available possible option. If we need to see the services, we can just type AWS space and tab. So you will see all list of services which you can use from the CLI as a query. So what are we going to do is AWS EC2. So again, we are going to follow the same approach. Okay, we will be looking at VPC, we will be looking at subnets, we will be looking at route table, and we will check the network ACL, we will check the security group. Okay, and then in the last, we will also check our VPC peering connection from the CLI. And then as we have the compromised credential, from those credential and from that SSH private key, we will be accessing this public facing instance and then laterally move into the network. So again, let's come back here and describe our VPCs. So when you are doing this such kind of engagement, it is always advisable to open a notepad. Okay, whatever information that you get from this output, you can just simply type here. You can add this information here like VPC detail. You can add subnet level detail. You can add ACL level, security groups that have all kind of details you can add here so that you will know what are the complete detail. EC2 instance IP addresses. So once you have enumerated things from CLI and you have the data output here, it will be easier for you to jump between the instances. So the first command is we are going to describe the VPC, which is AWS EC2 describe VPCs. Okay. See, I am using tab here. Okay. And if we don't know command, we can just use tab. It is showing me the available option. So VPCs, this is the specific command. So when I run this command, as you can see, the same information which we had seen it from the GUI. So this is one VPC. Okay, I will just again show you this diagram so that it will be clear for you guys. Let me now make this diagram a little bit bigger. Okay, so this is showing us both VPC. Okay, so as you can see here, this VPC1 and then the property of that VPC1 or the details are here. So that VPC1 is part of VPC1 has this broader subnet. Okay, and this is the VPC ID, this is the owner ID, those kind of detail. And the next is we have VPC2. Okay, then there is a VPC2 related information here, like what is the VPC ID, what is the owner ID, what kind of subnet it is part of. So when you are doing this enumeration from CLI, again, I would repeat is copy this information always, because you never know when are you going to require this, like subnet, for example, right? You are going to copy this subnet, you are going to name it as a VPC2 subnet, okay? Like this, any information that you copy, you have to just paste it here so that later on, and this is the VPC ID, copy. You can simply refer to this file instead of again running the commands. So paste it here and just name that VPC02 ID. So now you know this is subnet detail. This is VPC02 VPC ID like this. So this is how you are going to do. Okay. Because now we know already, I am not going to actually put the information here, but I just want to give you idea make sure that you have the details here so that it will be handy next time. Okay. Next, we are going to look for the one by one VPC. Actually, so let's look at the VPC1. This is the command to look at the VPC1. AWS EC2 describe VPC. And then I'm just putting the filter that name VPC ID and the value should be VPC1 VPC ID. Okay. So if you look at this VPC ID, which is ends with 92A9, this is our VPC1. And if you scroll little bit up and okay, why it's not scrolling? Okay, this is our VPC1 and this is the VPC1 ID 92A9. So we can simply put the specific filter to look for the detail. So if we press enter, we will see the information only related to VPC1. Okay, as we can see the same information which we saw in a previous command. So same information you can see for the VPC2. You can just paste the command and modify this filter with VPC2 ID. Okay, this is VPC2 ID, press enter. And then this is how you are going to see the detail here. This is for the VPC2, all the details. Again, as you know, we have to copy this information, paste it into the notepad for the further analysis. So we can use that information later on. We don't need to run the command again. Next, now once we have enumerated the VPC and we know the VPC IDs and number and detail, we will be enumerating the subnet details. Okay. So as part of our drawing, or if you can also look at this drawing, we will be enumerating VPC is done. Now next is subnet. Then we will go for route table, network ACL and security group, one by one approach. Let's jump back to our Kali Linux. Next is we are going to describe the subnet. Let me copy the command, paste it here. AWS EC2 describe subnet is the command. Okay, press enter. It will show you all the subnet. Okay, that is part of this profile. Okay, as you can see here for the subnet 2, which is private subnet in VPC2, sorry, private subnet in VPC2. This is the information, right? Which we can see from the CLI. If you look at this specific subnet 10.20.1.0, which is part of VPC2 private subnet. And if we look at here in our drawing, it's matching our drawing. Okay. So this is regarding VPC2. This is regarding VPC1 subnet. So there are total 3 subnet. This is subnet 1 and this is the subnet IDCIDR block. This is next. This is next subnet that we have here. There should be one more subnet. Why it's not scrolling up? Okay, it's scrolling. And this is one more subnet, which is public. So as per our drawing, it's matching. And as per our console access also, what we have seen, it's matching our output. Next, if you want, you can actually do the subnet query specific to the VPC. Let me do that here. This is the command to run the query again. AWS EC2 describe subnet, and then you can apply the filter. By the way, don't worry about this command. I am going to post it, this command also, so that you will know this. You will have access to this command already. But the only thing that you will be going to change for you is VPC ID. When you configure your own environment, VPC ID will be changed, subnet ID will be changed. So there are few parameters that you need to take care of, when you actually run this command on your own. So let me press enter and see the detail related to subnet 1. So as we know that there are two subnets in VPC1. This is subnet 1. And for that subnet, this is the information. And there is one more subnet, public subnet. And for that subnet, this is the information, okay, that we have. Subnet ID and everything. And there is an ARN as well. So this is about the subnet. Okay, same we can do for VPC2. Let me copy the command and paste it here. So this is the command for subnet 2, VPC2 to query all the subnet. Okay, let me press enter. In VPC2, we know that there is only one subnet. So in output, we are only going to see only one subnet here. Okay, so again, we need to copy paste this all output into the notepad. Just to draw the drawing or visual in our mind, it will help us when specifically we don't know any information about the environment. Next thing, now we have query the VPC and subnet. Next thing that we are going to query is the route table. So to check the route table from CLI, this is the command AWS EC2 describe route tables. Press enter. It will show you the route table for all the route table that are available. So as you can see, for example, let me show you one route table. We can see a lot of route table. This is route table 1. Sorry, this is route table for VPC 1. And the routes are this in that VPC. So to reach this destination from the VPC 1, we need to go to peering connection. Then there is a one more route, which is to reach to this destination. We don't need to go anywhere because it's a local. And in the VPC, there is one more route, VPC 1, there is one more route. To reach to the internet, we need to go to the internet gateway. So this is basically the route table from this command, okay, which we have again already saw from the console access. So again, same command you can run for VPC 1 and VPC 2. Let me paste for VPC 1 and just show you the detail for VPC 1 like this. This is the detail for VPC 1. And again, this is the, I will paste another command for VPC 2. And this is the detail for VPC 2, route detail. Okay. So this is route VPC 2, route table VPC 2. And then these are the routes into that VPC. Okay. Because we specifically filtered for VPC 2 ID. So next, when we have check VPC, subnet, route tables, there are a few more things left, which is network ACL, security group, and VPC peering connection. So let's check the network ACL from CLI. Let me paste the command here. This is the command to check the network ACL. Okay, sorry, this is the wrong command. Let me cancel this command, paste. Okay, network ACL. This is the command. Okay, press enter. And you will see all the available network ACL here, and also what are the things allowed and what are the things which are not allowed here. So for example, if you look here at ACL1, on the top, you will see all the details related to this ACL1. So there is a publicly everything is allowed. Basically, this is what it is saying. And okay, sorry, this is egress. Egress means outgoing traffic. Okay, so these are the basically details about network ACL. Okay, so basically, as you can see, egress. This is sorry. 1 minute. Let me check what's the confusion here. Okay, anyway, basically these are the rules which are allowed and which we saw from the console access. Okay, next there is one more ACL, which is ACL 02, and for this ACL also, as you can see that there are rules which are allowed. This protocol -1 means all protocol, 000 means all the IP. Okay. Okay, guys. So what was this egress? Is nothing but egress means this is true. That means it's incoming traffic, and egress false means this is outgoing traffic. So as we know, for the incoming traffic, there is this policy is allowed. So as part of network ACL, because it's stateless, outgoing traffic also has to be allowed. So this is about the network ACL. And then again, we can query this network ACL with the specific, with respect to specific subnet ID. Okay, and this is the command to query network ACL with specific subnet ID. So command is AWS EC2 describe network ACL filters, and the name is associated subnet ID, and the value will be that specific subnet ID which we are looking for. and then press enter. And then you are going to see the output for the specific subnet. So this is the detail. You can see again, these are incoming entries. These are, sorry, incoming traffic. These are outgoing traffic. Okay. And these are the detail about this association network ACL. So this network ACL is associated with two subnets. Okay. This subnet and this subnet. So currently we queried for 4587 subnet, 4587. And then let's query for the third subnet. For two subnet, it is here. For the third subnet, we will see copy and then let me paste it. This is the network ACL for third subnet. Okay. ACL2, and this is associated with only one subnet, which is ending with 5A198. And this is the subnet ID here that we had queried for. So again, why this is important? Because you will have the CLI access specifically most often, and you need to know this command. You need to know how to query things and how to do these things. So this is how you are going to do it from the CLI. One more thing now we are going to explore is security group. Okay, so I will just going to explore the security group quickly without wasting more time. This is the command AWS EC2 describe security group. Press enter and you will see all the security group that are available in that profile. So there is private SG01 group name, and then these are the permissions which are there. So this is one permission basically which says port 22 allow from anywhere. Okay, so it is allowing SSH. Okay, there is something called ICMP also allowed. So as you can see that for that security group, these are the things which are allowed. So as you scroll, you will see the detail. Then there is one more private SG VPC, and then the things which are allowed there. So if you check from the top to bottom, this is how it's gonna look for you. Okay, this is the group name, this is description, and then these are the permission that are part of this group name. So this is how basically you are also going to check the permissions, whether those are allowed or not from the CLI. Okay, so there will be many security group that we can see here. Okay, let me scroll to the end. So basically, this is how you are going to see the security group information. So for example, there is one more security group called old, which has basically all protocol and from all IP it's allowed. Okay. So this is about security group. Now the last thing that we are going to do is describe our VPC peering connection and see whether it's properly configured or not, or whether even it is available or not. Of course, we know it from the console access, but as part of CLI, we are doing this. Okay. So the command is AWS EC2 describe VPC peering connection and press enter. And you will see the peering connection details from the CLI. So the connection name is 01202. This is something active status. It's part of US East 1 region. This is the VPC ID, and this is the information about that VPC. Okay, so this is owner ID. This is requester VPC information. 1 minute, let me scroll up. So the requester VPC is this, and the acceptor VPC is this VPC. So we had initiated connection from VPC 1 to VPC 2. But once the connection is initiated, it is vice versa traffic, which is allowed. Okay, so far, guys, now let's come back here and let's check so far what we have looked. So basically, we have enumerated VPC, subnet, security group, network ACL, and found that there are rules are allowed, there is route is allowed, and now it's time to check what are the IP addresses of this EC2 instance from the CLI. Because assume that we may not know these IP addresses from the outside world. But once we have got inside access, at least we will be able to see that. Correct? So now let's go and check this IP addresses of instance. So we will be going to filter this instance by subnet ID because there are 3 subnet. Actually, what you can do is run AWS EC2 describe instance command, which will show you all the instance, okay, like this, instances. So now this command will show you all the instances. So this is our final stage, okay. Once we get the IP addresses of instances, we will simply SSH into them and achieve our goal, okay. So let me press enter and see the detail of these instances. So as you can see, the instance is starting from here basically. You can see all the detail of this instance. It says this is the instance ID, T2 micro, the key name is SSH key pair. Possibly we have compromised this already from our initial enumeration. Okay. And this is in availability zone US East 1B. This is the private IP address of this instance. So as you keep scrolling, you will see the detail about this instance. Okay, this is the private IP. This is the subnet ID, VPC ID that this instance is part of. Keep scrolling, you will see a lot of detail that this instance ARN is this. It's part of this role group. You can keep scrolling, you will see a lot of other detail, security group. So once you see this instance detail, right, there are a lot of information. You can simply copy this into the notepad and map it to each other. And this is how you will build the drawing like this from the CLI once you have mapped it. Okay. So let me press enter, keep going, keep going. Okay, these are the details. Next, there is private 2 instance. Okay, I think this all above information was about private 2 instance name. Okay, now the next information that is going to start, it will be for another instance. So basically, let me go to the last and do the bottom to top approach. Okay, so that you will understand. So if we scroll up now, you will see that there are other instances and other detail also. So, okay, let's look at this private instance. So this private instance, if we scroll up, you will see the detailed information about this instance on top. This is the IP address that it has. Okay. If we scroll up, this is the security group. This is the name of that group. If we scroll up, so basically, if we do like this, we will be able to see a lot of information about the instance, and we can copy that information, map it to our notepad, and then start utilizing those information for the attack purpose. Next, if looking at all instance, if it is getting confused, we can look one by one to the subnet. Let me paste. This is the filter. AWS EC2 describe instances. Filter is subnet ID, and then this is the subnet ID that we need to put as a value. So this is going to show only EC2 instance, which is part of this subnet ID. Press enter and scroll down. You will see the instance which belongs to that subnet ID. Okay. And let me go. This is the public 01. Okay. Only one instance that we have in that specific subnet. This is the private IP and this is the public IP of that instance. This is the network interface card, which is Elastic Network Interface. And if you scroll, you will see the security group that it is attached to this instance, which we have already seen from the previous command. And then again, some details are repeating. And yeah, this is all the information, which volume it is attached, or what the detail about that specific volume. Everything is here, you can see for this specific subnet ID. Same command you can run for remaining 2 subnet. Okay, I'm going to paste it. This is for subnet 2. So you will see the EC2 instance like this for the another subnet. So if you scroll up, you will see the name that is private 01 EC2 instance, which is if you compare it to our movie, let me show you. This is public, private 1 and private 2. So this is about another subnet. And now there is one more command for the third subnet, because we have 3 subnet. We can query one by one and just gather information slowly as part of as compared to subnet. So this is private 01 again, and this is the information about that EC2 instance. So ideally, when we see this information, we will copy these IP addresses, okay, and then we will start accessing the EC2 instance. Okay. Now, guys, we are actually going to, in last 5 to 10 minutes, we are actually going to do the lateral movement. Since we have gathered all kind of information, okay, now it's time to do the lateral movement. So first, now from our uh, initial reconnaissance, now since we got the keys also, we did lot of reconnaissance in network and found that this is one public IP address. We will access this instance first. Then we are going to access this second instance, and then we are going to access this third instance, because we don't have direct access from this instance to this instance. That's why we are going to do the lateral movement. And maybe there is some secret file on this instance which we are going to compromise, which we are going to see. Okay. So exfiltration data and playing with S3 and setting up persistence, we will check it today. But today, sorry, tomorrow we will check that. But today, in last 5 minutes, we are just going to finish this final part, which is lateral movement. So let's jump back to our console. Let me clear the screen. And guys, there is one folder I have created, Red Teaming, and this is the SSH access key of that private instance. Okay. Sorry, of this public instance. So this is the public instance. Assume that we have compromised this instance, or the customer has given us a private SSH access key or the username password for this instance. And maybe the customer is, not doing best practice. So he's using same credential or same private key across all over his instances. So for this demonstration purpose, we are going to assume that we have compromised the key of this instance, private SSH key, from somewhere, maybe from GitHub or, from the previous pen testing engagement. So this is the assumption. And this is the key that we are going to do SSH with. So what are we going to do is jump between one to one machine. But first, we are going to see if we are able to ping from one machine to another. Let me first log into our first instance, which is public. And then from there, we will see if we are able to reach to the third instance directly or no. So let me do the SSH command. SSH-I. We need to use this SSH key, and then Ubuntu is the username of 54. Okay, let me paste the IP address. This is our IP address, public IP address as per our drawing. Okay, this is the IP address. So basically, in order to do SSH with the private key that we have, this is the command SSH-I, then load the key and then type the username @ IP address above the instance. Okay, when you take this first time key into your computer, or you download it from the cloud, you need to give the permission, okay, for this key, which is this command. Let me open a new tab. Okay, this is the command that you are going to type. Chmod 400, this is the permission that you need to give. And you need to select the path where this key is available. Here there is no this file available, so I'm going to get the error. But if I run this command in this directory, it is going to succeed. So I have done that already. So we are simply going to connect to the SSH. We are going to connect to our first compromise instance. And let's see what happens. Okay, we have got the access to this instance, and we can see the private IP address of this instance. So this is how we have got our first instance access. Now we are going to check whether we are able to ping 10.21.129 from this first instance. Okay. Ping 10.21.129 and see if the traffic is going through. No, there is no luck. Now let me cancel this and see if we are able to ping this instance. We know from our CLI reconnaissance or the GUI reconnaissance that there is a route. So we should be able to ping this IP address, okay, which is 172.31.69.168. Ping 172.31.69.168. So let's see. Okay, we are able to ping this instance. So now, since we have compromised this key, what we are going to do, we will be loading this key again into this new instance. How you can do this? You can simply actually read the content of that private key of SSH. You can just run cat and then this is the key, right? This is the key file. Just press enter. You can simply copy all this content, okay, and then create a new file here called vi. Give any name, okay? It doesn't has to be the same name, but it has to end with .pem. Press enter, and then you have to paste the key here, and then save the file. This is how you are going to load that file into this instance, because we may not have access to our next instance, or we may not have certain right, or we may not be able to copy or transfer the file from outside to this instance. There are various ways, but just in case if you want to do this manually, you will be able to do it via editing the file itself. So now, since I have the file access already, let me copy the command SSH into our next instance, which is 172.31.69.168. And again, I'm going to load my private keys, press enter. And now I am into the next instance, okay, which is this instance 172.31.69.168. So as you can see, I am doing a lateral movement from here to here. And from here, I will see if I am able to ping this IP. Okay, let's go back and ping to 10.20.1.129. Okay, we are able to ping. So now again, what we are going to do, SSH. So I have already loaded this key. You can say via editing the file. You can do the same method, because now this box will actually don't have any access to internet. Okay, even if you do, let's say if config, you can see that there are basic tools are not even installed, and we are not able to install because this second instance doesn't has the public IP access. Okay, so now let me paste this command. Now we are going to SSH into our last instance and do the lateral movement to reach there. Okay, guys, perfect. As you can see, we have reached to our last instance, which is 10.20.1.129. And this is the instance IP address. So now if I ping to our previous instance from here, sorry, let me scroll up. Okay, let me just type the ID 172.31.69.168. We are able to ping that instance. But if from the third instance, if we are trying to ping 172.31.29.4, let's see what happens. Ping 172.31. What was the IP? 29.4. 29.4. Okay, as you can see, we don't have access. This is where the lateral movement come into the place. Okay, and this is how successfully we have made a lateral movement from one instance to third instance. Okay, where we don't have any visibility, and where we have only initial compromise key or the keys that was given by customer. Now next, the final task is to see if there are any secret. Let me type ls. So for the demonstration purpose, I have purposefully kept the secret data here. So we can view this file, cat, super secret. And tomorrow's session, basically, we are going to see how to exfiltrate this data. So this is some secret data. You have successfully exfiltrated the secret data. We have not exfiltrated, but we have reached to the point where we say this is our secret file. Okay, guys. So this was about our today's demo. As part of our demo today, what we have done, we have demonstrated how to compromise AWS keys. Okay, next, how to do the lateral movement in VPC. And the last thing is to find the secret. So tomorrow, what we are going to do, we will be exfiltrating that secret data which we just have explore, we just have found, and we will be also setting up a persistence mechanism so that tomorrow, if the administrator delete those keys, we will still have the backdoor access to this EC2 instance. Okay. And then the last thing we are going to do tomorrow is play with S3 access. So today, again, I will repeat that we have just completed these 3 tasks and we will be now continuing our session tomorrow. Okay, I hope this session was informative for you guys. I hope you have learned something new. If you have any doubt, you can reach out to me even later. You can reach out to me on my social media handle or on my email ID. So with that being said, let's close the call and thank you very much, everybody, for attending the session and giving your valuable time. See you tomorrow, same time. We will be continuing from here till our remaining 3 tasks completed. Okay. See you guys. Have a nice evening. Take care.